the hunger and eagerness to win, at the highest level. Especially being in the great Western Conference with great players every single night. Just going out there every single night and just playing at the highest level and competing against the best of the best. I think this time around it's going to be a lot of fun.
Taking you through 10 points for the upcoming Spurs season with NBA champions Brendan Haywood and David Griffin. I'm Jared Greenberg. The only remaining links to the Spurs' last title, Patty Mills and Marco Bellinelli.
Wow.
So we start here with number one on the Spurs season. The more things change, the more things stay the same for the Spurs. Question mark. What are the Spurs going to miss the most? Not having Manu, not having Tony, and not having Kawhi Leonard.
For me, it's easy. It's going to be not having Kawhi Leonard because they're not going to have that talent. They're not going to have that guy that can be a max player for you. They have DeMar DeRozan, but he's a little bit different than Kawhi because Kawhi is one of the elite two-way players that we have in this league. He checks so many boxes for you. On a night where he's not scoring the basketball, he can have 7 or 8 points and be playing terrible from the field, but he can be killing it on the defensive end. There's not a lot of those guys in the league today, and the fact that he's no longer on the Spurs, I think the Spurs are really going to miss that, especially when we talk about this team in the playoffs.
I think it's the veteran leadership and presence of Manu. For 21 years, they've had one or two of Tim Duncan, Tony, and Manu in that locker room, and they were really carrying forth Pop's wishes and bringing all of Pop to that culture. And they really were the voices of the front office, I think, to a huge degree. And without that, I think this is uncharted territory for Pop, the coach, and more importantly for the organization as a whole. They are now part of the NBA as we've all known it for those 21 years, and it'll be interesting to see how all that evolves.
Guys, I had the chance to be in San Antonio for Media Day, speaking with the guys about what they'll miss and how they'll adjust to all the changes.
Definitely feels different this year because it's a whole new team again, and no Manu, which is big for me because I feel like he's always been like the last little comfort blanket for Pop in a way that he has one guy that knows everything. So this year feels way different, having DeMar, such a big piece of the team come in, and we kind of have to figure out our chemistry together. So this year definitely feels different.
I look at it as a refreshing opportunity, a new flavor kind of thing, a new blood, and with some very high quality pieces. I see our team with a lot of depth, a nice mixture between veteran and experience with youth. So now it's just a matter of how that all translates into the court.
Principles of how we do things or what the process usually is will probably stay the same, but there are tweaks every year, whether it's a tweak on offense or defense or administratively. This group of guys might want to do something a little bit differently.
Spurs will have 9 players on the roster with 2 or fewer years of playing experience. Kawhi and Danny Green weren't the most vocal guys. Certainly they contributed on the court. But what is it, Griff, about finding how your leadership is going to go about leading?
Well, I think a big part of it, too, is that they're a team other than DeRozan that they don't necessarily have elite pieces that have a role around LaMarcus. And so it's going to be finding each other's role relative to LaMarcus. I think it's very clear that Pop has made it clear to LaMarcus he's going to be the ringleader and that they're going to run offense through him. And it's going to be about he can take – that Spurs team will go as far as he can take them offensively to a huge degree. So they're going to integrate DeMar into what they do, I think. But it's really going to be LaMarcus's team. So for me, I think that's going to be something that's really critical for them as they move forward.
But again, you've got LaMarcus, who admitted he's not an outspoken guy. DeMar is not an outspoken guy. Do you need a team to have an outspoken guy?
You don't need a rah-rah guy. Every team does. Some teams have a rah-rah guy, and you can spot it. Sometimes you don't know if it's always genuine, but you do need leadership. You do need a guy that comes into the locker room before the coach even comes in and says, hey, guys, tonight we're not bringing it. We're not executing. And when guys hear him speak, it means power. In 2011, for our team, it was Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd wasn't the most vocal guy in the world. But when he got up there in front of the locker room and said, Brendan, you need to do this. Tyson, you have to do this. It resonated with everybody because, hey, this guy doesn't speak a lot. So we all followed suit. I'm not sure who that guy is. Is it DeJounte Murray? I don't know who it is.
He wants to be it.
Yeah, but he's very young. And so not only are we not sure if he can carry that role, will guys listen to him? Because sometimes when a young guy says some things, you have some older guys that have more experience that might be rolling their eyes. So a lot of it comes down to, can you win your teammates over? I think DeJounte Murray can do that. He's known to be a tireless worker, and that's the biggest thing. If you're a worker and your work matches what your mouth is saying, guys will generally follow you. So I look for Murray to be that leader for this team.
Let's talk about how this translates to on-the-court success. Last year, Kawhi Leonard played just 9 games. They win 47. They finished 7th in the West. By most accounts, that was exceeding expectations when you don't have a top 5 player in the world. But LaMarcus Aldridge played at an all-NBA level. What is a fair expectation? Can they be better this year? The thinking is, well, we had DeMar DeRozan, and this team should be better.
Well, they're adding DeMar DeRozan, and January 30th of last year, they're 34-19. They're 3rd in the Western Conference. They went 13-16 the rest of the way once everything sort of came unraveled with Kawhi. And that really showed itself on the defensive side of the ball. Their net rating at that time defensively was 101.1. It's number 2 in the NBA. They end up dropping down to 11th at 104.9. And there were big stretches where they were not able to get critical stops. So I think it's less about DeRozan walking through the door, and it's more about them finding faith and trust in one another and this new group. You know, Powell talks about the idea that it's a new flavor. Well, it may be a new flavor, but they all need to be part of the same pie sometime soon.
Death, taxes, and the Spurs are going to make the playoffs. Those are the 3 things that are pretty much guaranteed. I know it's a new group. I know we have new voices. But I think the Spurs will be okay. I think when you add DeMar DeRozan to a team that basically didn't have Kawhi last year, that team without Kawhi won 47 games. You add DeMar, I think they're going to be a lot better. And then on top of that, I just think that Greg Popovich is one of the best in the league at getting guys to buy into what their roles are. Role definition. People think X's and O's is the most important thing a coach can do. It's role definition. And that's one of the biggest things that we talk about. When we talk about the Spurs way, guys don't get out of character. You never saw Danny Green coming down, chucking step back threes. He knew that wasn't his role. He knew everybody had their role, and that's the biggest thing the Spurs do, and that's why they're so consistent. They get guys to play the right way. If your job is to screen and rebound, that's what you do. You don't take turnaround jumpers. If your job is to drive the ball to the hole and find teammates, that's what you do. Greg Popovich is excellent at getting guys to do the right things the right way. He'll do it again this year. The Spurs will be successful.
On to point number 3, speaking of which, a big question for the Spurs, how much longer will Greg Popovich be the team's head coach? On media day, LaMarcus Aldridge said that Pop isn't showing any signs of slowing down.
I don't see him getting tired or, trying to leave anytime soon, but, anything is possible. But no, he seems passionate and he seems excited for the challenge ahead. He's such a smart guy that I feel like he sees this new team, this new makeup as a chance to be a new challenge for him. So I see him looking forward to it, and, I've talked to him all summer, and he's been fired up.
It's interesting because we had linked LaMarcus and Pop together when he first signed from Portland, saying the thought was Pop would be there at least as long as LaMarcus was. They repaired their relationship issues. Not only how long will Pop coach, but what type of coach do you expect to see with this young group?
Well, I think no one can tell you when Pop is going to retire except for Pop. As a coach, you know when you don't feel like doing this anymore. You know when you don't feel like getting up early, going to those meetings, and staying there late after games. Only Greg Popovich knows that. No one else really knows the answer. But as far as his coaching style, I think his coaching style will be just fine. His coaching style is one I like to call versatile, which means that he can basically coach any type of style, whether it's getting big men the ball, whether it's ball movement, whether it's getting guys in isolations in the mid-post. His offense and his style of play and his coaching style has evolved and changed depending on the players he has. So I have no questions about Greg Popovich. I have no questions about his style. I have no idea when he's going to retire, but when he does, he'll have a lot of wins underneath that belt.
So one of the things that I think the Spurs for 21 years, the New England Patriots under Belichick have taught us is that adversity creates opportunity. And what LaMarcus is telling you is Pop sees the opportunity, and he's practicing what he preaches now. And that's really meaningful. And so in terms of how long the run goes, I have no concern about that at all as a fan. What I want to see, you talked about it earlier, it's not just role delineation, it's role acceptance. And these young kids, in a situation where there's not a clear-cut number one, how are they all going to accept their role, and how are they going to feel playing around LaMarcus, who obviously has been given the keys to the car? Pop last year, when LaMarcus asked for the trade, made it very clear to LaMarcus, you are going to be the main featured attraction. DeMar can work with that because he worked with Kyle, but what do the rest of these kids look like around the two of them, because they're all going to be fighting for their piece of it as well.
14 wins away from passing Pat Riley for fourth most in regular season wins. It's been quite the accomplished career from Greg Popovich. He's not done yet.